So some of the basic features of this kind of documentation, whether you're doing instructions or procedures, or the same type of layout is used for specification documentation, looks very similar. You have a title, often a title page, or a title section, which you guys will have a title page. An introduction and background, which is usually either a few sentences or it can be an entire paragraph, depending on how big the project is. So notice that both of these types of documents have the same setup at the beginning. And then a list of materials, tools, and parts that are needed. A specification just has materials and conditions. And then you have the steps, right? Always the main parts of an instructions and procedures manual is going to be the parts, right? You're going to, if you're going to put together a bookshelf, you need the steps on how to do that. If you're going to do a procedure like how to administer first aid, you need the procedures on how to do that. So instructions and procedures have a different idea behind them, but you need to know what order to do that in and how to put them together. So you need the steps, right, on how to do that. And this specifications could have steps as well. It just depends on what the specifications are being used for. Sometimes they do, sometimes they do not have steps. And then a conclusion at the end, which lets your reader know you're done. You've finished putting the bookshelf together. You have finished doing whatever the procedure was, putting the last stitch in the stitch, finished administering CPR, or finished the blood draw, whatever the case may be. I don't know. I always think of medical things when I think of procedures, but it doesn't have to be. And then there's a troubleshooting guide usually included at the bottom. I know this may be cut off at the bottom for you guys. Sorry about that. And that's the basic layout that you will have for your instructions manual. In specifications, they often have measurements, tests, quality control procedures. It just depends on what it is that the specifications are there for. Is it specifications for something that's biohazard, specs for a phone? It depends on what you're looking at, because if you're going to buy something online, think about the tabs inside of Amazon. Like, I always go into the specifications because I want to know, what is it? What are the materials? How much does it weigh? What are the measurements? Has there been quality control tests, depending on what it is? What kind of procedures or medications, right? Think about specifications included in any kind of new medication you buy. It's not really something you would call instructions. It's more that they're specifications, right? So a little bit different from each other, but very similar. But these are the basic features in both documents, and they're set up similarly, okay? All right, so early stage planning and researching for documentation, you first need to come up with a subject, obviously. And then you need to think of the purpose. So since for this project, I let you guys pick whatever you want. I don't care what you pick. You need to think first, what are you going to pick? And second, what is your purpose? Take time to compose your purpose statement. Limit yourself to one sentence. I don't have my highlighter out. Sorry. Let me get my highlighter. Need my highlighter. Can't stand it. Where is it? Okay. Ooh, that's too small. Sorry. I'm messing myself up today. Okay. So it needs to be composed of wow, that really messed that up. It needs to be composed of one sentence. Sorry. And when you have it composed of one sentence like that, then it's going to let you, figure out what exactly is the point of this document. Is it going to help you turn something on? Is it going to let you use it for the first time? Is it going to let you make one thing? What is the purpose of this document? So you want to pick something that you know well. I would recommend something that you have in your household, something that you use every day, something that is close at hand, something that is easy to use, that you're very familiar with, and you're only going to use one element of it. And you will know what I mean very, very quickly. So you don't want to say something like how to drive a car, because guess what? Your instructions manual will feel like a phone book. You don't want to do that. You want to be like how to use one specific feature inside of your vehicle. So if that's what you choose to do, in a 2017, Ford Fusion, how to use the blah, blah, blah. All right. So it's like one thing, and that's what you're going to choose. One thing. Don't forget who your target readers are, right? Who are you talking to? Who are you writing this for? What is the purpose of this? And all the other people that could be reading it also. You have a main target audience, and then you have those secondary and tertiary readers, right? Don't overestimate the skill of your primary readers, right? By being too technical. Remember what their skill level may be and their reading level may be. And remember the context of use, right? So think about the print. Think about how you may design it, right? You just did that document redesign before, and some of you did that really great. Some of you had way too small a print. Some of it was way too long. So you need to kind of come back to yourself here and think about what is it you're trying to get across? What do you want them to be able to do with this? And think about where they might be using it. So you might need to do a little background research. Just you don't plagiarize. So this is where people get in trouble. For this particular project, I did turn on the plagiarism checker, and I did that on purpose because not every semester, but probably every couple of semesters that I teach this class, somebody plagiarizes this one particular project. And by plagiarizing, what I mean is they go to the website. Specifically what I'm thinking of is the year somebody did like the Ninja Bullet. What is that thing? It's like a blender, I think. The Ninja Bullet blender or something. I don't know. I don't have one, but now I know all about it. Mainly from the website, because they essentially just went to the website and took all the steps off of it. Well, that means they didn't write anything. So do I mind if you go to the websites and pull pictures, graphics to use in your steps? I don't. I don't mind if you do that. That's fine with me, okay? What I do mind, and if you want to get something like some specific, be like how big something is, or you feel like the weight makes a difference, especially for your warnings or for your troubleshooting guide, but your steps of use, your actual instructions, you should not be looking at anything at all when you make your instructions. Those need to be written by you as the document writer, okay? If I wanted to see how the creator of that item wrote the instructions, I would just go Google it myself, and there would be no reason for me to make this assignment for you, all right? That's plagiarizing. Do not plagiarize this, because I will give you a 0. So you should be doing a little bit of background research, as in the background research should be you going over, picking up your item that you've chosen, whatever that is. Your pen, your phone, something in your computer, your iPad, I don't care, your saw, who knows? I don't care what it is. Anything that you want it to be, whatever. Pick whatever you want. You're just making a set of instructions on how to tell somebody to do something. What it cannot be is, I don't want it to be a recipe, because that's different. That's a different thing, okay? That's a procedure. That's not a set of instructions. Procedures are different. I don't want instructions on how to cook something. So cooking is a different thing, and that's not using an item, that's creating a recipe, all right? Procedural things are different. So a set of instructions is using a specific item or putting together something that's a manual thing that needs to be assembled. Okay, so that's a different thing. Not talking about a recipe. So don't somebody do recipes. So you might ask a subject matter expert, but in this case, and that's like out in the real world, okay? If you're ever asked to make a document that's a set of instructions, you would probably go to the people who built it, who created it, whatever, if you were a technical writer. In this particular case for our project, you are the subject matter expert. That's why I want you to choose something that you already know how to use. Use your senses, right? As in, think about when you're explaining to somebody how to do this, think about, does it make a sound? Does it smell funny when you do something? Does it feel funny when you do something? Does it make a click? Will you feel it, turn until you can't, right? Think about how instructions work. Describe motion and change, because you want the people to be able to understand when they have completed whatever you do. You need to collect visuals and graphics to help people move along the way, because there's nothing worse than getting a set of instructions that have no graphics involved and you're just looking at print and you have no idea what you're doing. On the flip side of that, I just recently put together a bookshelf that I ordered from Wayfair, and it had no actual instructions. It was just pictures. That was terrible. So it could work both ways. So you need to have both. Cross-cultural considerations, make sure you keep your English simple and basic. Don't get too crazy with big words. Don't, check your meanings of names and slogans. Watch your slang, all right? Because it could not have transferable meaning cross-culturally. And your images and icons, be careful of what it may mean from one to the other. So sections of the documents, right? We just looked at the beginning at the sections of the documents. So you want to have a specific and precise title. You're not writing a fiction novel here. You want someone to be able to pick it up and know exactly what this document is for. So if you named your document, if you gave it the title flash drive, that doesn't tell me anything. Are you selling me a flash drive? Is this a movie called Flash Drive? Is it a drive that flashes me? I don't know what that means. But if you call it how to install a flash drive, now I know exactly what the purpose of this document is, okay? Your introduction should do all of these, right? I should be able to check these off. It states the purpose of the document to show the person how to install the new blah, blah, blah flash drive, if we're going with what this says up here. State the importance of the task. To properly install the flash drive in order to save information. Describe the necessary technical ability, whatever that might be. Rudimentary, you don't need to know anything, or you have to have, a high technical ability in order to do it, which you don't need to in order to put in a flash drive, all right? Motivate the reader. Even you can do this in just a few minutes, right? Then you need, the next section has the list of parts, tools, and conditions, right? Think about anything you've ever had to put together or use for the first time. It has a list of parts, tools, and conditions, right? Conditions like temperature requirements or light requirements. Do you need to make sure you're in a cool room, or make sure that it's not wet or whatever when you're doing it? Excuse me, let me go back one more. And you need to make sure that you've listed out the parts that you need. There's nothing worse than opening everything up, getting ready to do it, and you realize that you needed a hammer and you don't have one. Or it was supposed to come with an Allen wrench and it didn't. Or you needed a cup, a 1 cup measuring cup, and you didn't have it. So make sure that you list that out ahead of time. Sequentially ordered steps. Now this is the main part of the document, right? This is kind of the bread and butter of what's going to come and make up your main part of your document right here. The sequentially ordered steps. This is often where people lose points. Because this is where people plagiarize, so don't do that. But mostly because you need to use command voice. So command voice is using verbs to tell people what to do, right? Open this bag. Put this screw here, right? That whatever it is. Measure 1 cup of this, use bolt B, something like that. Maybe use logic mapping to come up with a sequence of steps, right? State one action per step. So one action per step means you're not going to say, do this and then do this and do this and do this. That would be three things. That would be three steps. So don't tell your reader to do multiple things in one step. You confuse them, they lose track, they go down to the next step and realize later that they've missed multiple steps because you listed too many things in one step. One number per one step. One step, one number. All right? So keep your steps concise. Don't ramble on. Don't talk too much. Just get to the point. Number your steps, right? Because they're in order. The whole point of making instructions is that they have to be done in a specific order. If you have any extra information that you want to put in there to help your reader, like notes or warnings, or extra information that says something like, once this is done, a green light will show, or once this is done, you will hear a click in to let you know you've properly done it, or the bolt will now rest easy in the slot. That information, which is great information to help your person using it, should be indented, right? So if this was number 3, let's say this was step 3, you give the command voice, and then whatever notes you have should be indented, bulleted in, like a bullet note. That's good information, and it should be with the step, but it won't be a step by itself, and you're not going to add it to the command voice. Let it be separate underneath the step, like bulleted in, which you guys were using bullets in your document redesign. So that's what you do. You add your comments, notes, or examples as notes underneath it, right? Provide feedback if you need to. That goes with the comments, notes, and examples. You can refer to graphics. Graphics are great to help readers move forward, right? But the graphics need to be specific. Don't just like put random graphics for no reason. And they need to be as close as to the steps as possible. And you need to refer to them by number. Otherwise, the reader's like, wait, is this what this should have looked like at this point? Or am I in the wrong step? You will totally confuse your reader. So if on step 3, your item should look like this, you should say, in step 3, refer to figure 1.3, right? Otherwise, you've confused your reader. Safety information. So if almost everything has some kind of safety information, and to know the difference between what the different types and levels of safety means, danger means there's risk to serious injury or death, all right? Like, bad stuff, electrocution, body parts chopped off, So if you're working with something that has electricity, something that like directly into the wall type of electricity, something that could be used near a bath, or running water with electricity, something like saws or big knives, things like that, you could probably have to use danger safety procedures. A warning is injury likely if the step is not handled properly. So it could still result in injury, probably not death, but you could still maybe cut yourself or hurt a finger. Like, a hammer, you could smash your finger, or a nail, you could smash your finger. Even a sewing something, you could put that needle through your hand. It's not going to kill you, but you can still hurt yourself. So you're still talking about injury if not handled properly. A caution means you're not going to hurt yourself. You're not going to get electrocuted. You're not going to drop dead. You're not going to end up in the emergency room. You're not going to need stitches, maybe not even a Band-Aid, but you could damage the product or the equipment. So if you press the wrong button at the wrong time, you could lose all of your music that you just downloaded, or you could erase your new game that you just bought, okay? Stuff like that. You could lose your files, or you could ruin that nice cup of expensive coffee that you just brewed. Stuff like that. So you need to learn which one to use at the right time, which one is an appropriate level for safety warnings and risks, depending on what the item is that you're using and what you're using it for. So safety information should tell readers 3 things: what the hazard is, right? Like what the problem is and where it could occur, the seriousness, which is what these are, and how to avoid the injury or the damage. So what they could do to make sure it doesn't happen. So I want everyone's instructions to have at least one spot somewhere where you have a safety warning. And maybe nobody's going to have the danger one for serious injury or death, but everybody should have either a warning or a caution depending on what you're using. Because no matter what, if you mess something up, there could be damage to something, even if it's just a loss of a file depending on what you're doing. Or a bad haircut if you're using trimmers or mustache trimmers. I don't know. Somebody did mustache trimmers. So a conclusion, right? At the end, you want to make sure that your reader knows, oh my God, am I done with this thing yet? Do I have my perfect cup of tea made finally? Or am I done with this stupid bookshelf? Or am I done tree trimming? Whatever it is that you're doing your steps on. So you need to signal the completion of the task, right? Whatever it is. Congratulations, you've now successfully installed your new flash drive. Woohoo! Describe the finished product. You may describe what it should now look like, because depending on what it is, if it was something that had to be put together, you can provide a graphic, right? So that they know this is what it should look like in the end. Or now you should have a green light for this. Or now you should be able to open it and see your files, or whatever you're doing. And you should always offer some troubleshooting, even if it's just a few things. Things always go wrong. A simple troubleshooting guide can save a lot of frustration. And I'm going to require that you all have at least a small troubleshooting table with a few things in it. So I am going to show you, oh, I do have this, sorry. Okay, so I'll go for the rest of this. Page layout. It can vary depending on the project, whatever you feel makes your document easy to read in the circumstances it is meant for. That means the design is depending upon you, right? You just did a document redesign. Some of you were very fancy, some of you were not. Some of you used columns, some of you did not. Some of you changed the background color. Actually, almost all of you did, which was very nice. Some of you made sure your graphics matched your background color. Some of you used borders, some of you didn't. Make sure your headers are consistent, right? So there is a document design element here. And remember, I mean, part of the reason we're doing this in the class is because I'm looking for your design elements as we're going forward, because that's all leading us up to your final project, which is really looking at all of this. So this is just another way for you to start using these tools. The document design, that you have consistency, you're using white space properly, you've picked a good font for readability, you've set up the document well, blah, 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 blah. That you've used graphics, right? Good to use, especially in difficult to comprehend text steps. Sometimes a picture really is worth 1,000 words. Sometimes you won't need the graphics in there because the step was a clear and easy to follow step. You don't need tons of graphics in here, but there may be times when a graphic works really well. I want you to make sure that you label them. Name and number, or at least a number system, right? Figure 1.2. And you need to refer to it. Figure 1.2. All right? And don't forget, revise, edit, proofread. Always, always, always. Now, some of you had said in the document redesign you were having trouble getting your some of your pieces to stay. Most of you got it to stay really well in your Word document. As you're making this document, if you want to at the end save it as a PDF when you're finished, like you got everything where you want it, and before you want to send it to me, if you want to save it as save it as a Word document first and foremost, because you don't want to lose your Word document saving. Save it as a Word document. Save a version as a PDF, and you could upload a PDF as well. I will make sure inside of the document place where you guys upload your projects that you have 2 spaces to upload, and you could upload both your Word document and a PDF version of it if you feel like it's moving around pieces and you want to make sure that I saw what you saw on your screen.